Hello, my wonderful and lovely humans. So today we are going to be learning about photosynthesis. Now, we are going to be taking two kind of sets of notes. First, we're going to start off by taking some handwritten notes, and then we're going to move on to completing a diagram, which should look like this for you. But otherwise, right, the paper notes, you should have your notebook, and I should have told you what page these are going to be on. You guys should be copying these into your notebook as we write them, okay? So make sure you're doing that. As soon as we are done, we're going to go ahead and fill out the diagram. So make sure you guys are keeping track with that, okay? Because we're kind of doing two things in one video. All right. So without further ado, oh, and of course, here is the disclaimer. I'm at home, as you can see. So we will almost certainly see my cats or my dog. Okay, so we'll see who pops up, I guess. All right. So let me go ahead and flip that camera now. And here we are. Okay, photosynthesis notes. So I would like to start by saying that my notes are very, very colorful, but guess what? You don't necessarily have to do that, okay? I am extra. We all know this, okay? I'm happy to do it just to make you guys happy. And really, I'm making myself happy too by doing that. So anyways, who cares? I'm going to do it. You guys don't have to. Now, it might not be a bad idea to maybe use a couple of colors to help you guys keep some certain ideas together. But I feel that you guys probably know you best, right? So I'm going to give you the trust in that. You can make that decision by yourself, okay? All right, but anyways, photosynthesis notes. So photosynthesis is a process that we've actually talked about quite a bit already. We started talking about it way back in Africa Storyline. We were talking about the types of organisms who are able to perform this specific type of energy synthesis process, right? And those organisms that we were talking about are, of course, producers. So producers, like one requirement to be a producer is that you are able to make your own energy. So basically, by definition, you need to be able to perform photosynthesis. So we need to understand this a whole lot better. We need to understand the nitty-gritty of the little bits and parts, and that's what we're going to do today. So we are going to start off by first looking at the formula for photosynthesis. Now, the formula for photosynthesis, I like for you guys to think of as like a recipe card, right? Because what we're going to have over here on the left is what we would call, and I'm going to grab a pen so I can write it. The stuff that we have on the left side over here are called reactants. Okay, reactants. And the stuff to the right of the arrow, so where the point is pointing towards, those are known as products. Okay, now if you guys think about baking a cake, right, pretend this is the recipe card for the cake. Over here on my reactant side, what I'm going to list are my ingredients. So if I would like to make my cake, which is the product, I am going to have to make sure that I put in 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water in order for me to get the cake that I'm looking for, which in this case is glucose and oxygen. So, like I said, it's kind of like a recipe card, right? On the left side, we have the reactants. On the right side, we have the products. Oh, don't forget about the sun. How could we possibly forget about the sun? Okay, so the sun is going to power the reaction. So remember, if you're baking a cake, right? So we put the ingredients together, we mix them up in a bowl. Is it a cake yet? I'm really hoping that you say no, because if not, then you are eating raw cake mix, and that's not safe, buddy. Like, you should see a doctor if you're eating raw cake mix. Anyways, don't eat raw cake mix. That's the okay takeaway message, I suppose. All right. As I said, so we mix the stuff together. We're mixing the ingredients. We're mixing our reactants together, but it's not a cake yet, right? We have to stick it in the oven. We have to stick it in the oven, and the oven, in at least when we're talking about the cake, is going to provide heat energy to the cake. And guess what? It's going to allow it to power this reaction change where we no longer have carbon dioxide. We no longer have water. Instead, those molecules have completely rearranged themselves to become glucose and oxygen. In the same way that all of the ingredients involved in a cake have been, some energy has been put into that system, and now we are able to have a cake. So I think that works. All right. So make sure you copy that down. All right. Now that we have the formula down, we can talk about the two major things that are occurring here. Okay. So two major things occurring here. The first one is what we know as the light dependent reaction. So guess what? You know, the name light dependent actually tells you exactly what this depends on. It depends on sunlight. Oh my gosh, crazy, right? Who would have thought? Who would have thunk? Oh, well. So the light dependent reaction is going to have a couple of steps within this process. So let's talk about what's going on there. So first of all, light is going to be absorbed through the thylakoid membrane. So this thylakoid thing, we'll talk about it in a second. I'll show you a picture of what it is, what it looks like, where it's at in the cell, blah, 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 blah. Don't worry about it. We'll come back to it. Okay. The thylakoid membrane is going to absorb sunlight. Okay. And when it's absorbing the sunlight, what is going to happen is that light is going to energize the thylakoid. Okay. So think of it as like, I don't know, a solar power farm. So the solar power farm is receiving all of the sunlight, but it's going to send it to somewhere where we can actually do what we need to in order to make it energy that we can use in our homes or power our cars or whatever it is. I'm not that fancy. I don't have a truck. Yeah, I'm still on gas. Okay. But anyways, so that light energizes the thylakoid and it gives it enough energy to actually break down this molecule of hydrogen, this molecule of water down here. Okay. So once we have broken down hydrogen, or sorry, I keep saying hydrogen. Once we've broken down water, we are going to be able to produce oxygen. Okay. So think of literally this falling apart. We have three little elements here. We have two hydrogen elements and we have one oxygen element. So when it gets broken down, we have two loose hydrogens and one loose oxygen. But is there almost ever just one molecule of water? Definitely not, right? So this little lonely oxygen molecule is going to go find a partner and it's going to become O2. So that's how we get O2. Okay. All right. Anyways, lastly, this fourth step. So what's going to happen here, right? We are going to, we are going to be able to convert some stuff. And this is going to be really important for you guys to understand. But the good news is I have a really easy way for you guys to remember this. Okay. So what the whole process here is trying to do is it's trying to charge what is basically a dead battery. Okay. So what we have here on the left side is the stuff called ADP, D as in dog. All right. So what I like to think of is D. How is it related to 2? Double, right? I think double. So 2, double means 2, right? So when I see 2 P's, I think dead battery. Now, the other option, the alternative, I suppose, is this stuff called ATP. And guess what? There's 3 P's there, and that's way easier than even double because guess what? T3, that starts with a T, right? Super easy, right? So we have 1 extra P here, 1 less P here. So when we have 1 extra P, guess what? We are a happy charged battery. But when we don't have that extra P, we are a dead battery. We are not completely useless because yes, we will be able to get recharged, but you're not able to power our system like we need you to. Okay. So we need to charge up all the power in there. And that is going to happen during this light dependent. Now, the other form of energy that we can also receive is this stuff called NADP plus and NADPH. So NADP plus is going to, both of these are acting like a battery. This one on the left, just like ADP, is going to act like a dead battery. And this one on the right is going to act like a charged battery, period. Okay, so if you need to, go ahead and stop the video. All right, so that now brings us to our second major reaction, and that is opposite of the light dependent. It's the light independent cycle. And this cycle in particular is also known as the Calvin cycle. I'm going to go ahead and bump up my paper here. You guys should have had enough time to copy down that first one. So the Calvin cycle, right? Now, here's what's happening here. Step 1, carbon dioxide, CO2, is going to enter in through the stomata. Here's another word that you probably aren't going to recognize, but we will go over. It's a part of the organelle that is in the cell that does the photosynthesis. Okay, we'll go over it, no worries. But carbon dioxide is going to enter in through the stomata. Next, step 2. So remember how we created ATP here because we wanted a charge battery, and we created NADPH because, again, we wanted a charge battery? Well, guess what? It's going to show back up over here in the light independent area. So ATP, there's that one right there, and NADPH, which is right from here, is going to power the breakdown of this carbon dioxide, okay? And when we're powering that, guess what? We're going to lose charge. So we're going to lose one of those P's, and we're going to go back to ADP, and just like an uncharged battery or a decharged battery, I suppose. And same thing for NADP plus. It's going, or sorry, it starts off NADPH, but it is left over as NADP plus. So again, it's just losing that hydrogen molecule. Okay. All right. So these two things are left behind, and they are going to go ahead and they're going to return back to our first step process so that we can be recharged in the thylakoid. So guess what? It's a cycle. It just goes on and on and on and on and on until it's over, and period. Okay. So if you need to, this would be a good time to stop the video and copy. All right. So as I was saying earlier, this was going to come back into play. The fact that we have 6 CO2, 6 H2O, 1 glucose, 6 oxygen, because what we're having to do here is we're having to do this whole process. Guess what? 6 whole times just to make a single molecule of glucose. So this light independent is very much not energy saving. It is a last ditch effort by plants, right? Because do plants like the sun? 100%. And the reason is because when they don't have sunlight, it is extremely taxing on them. They have to do so much more work to make just 1 glucose molecule. So 6 Calvin cycles is going to end up in just a single glucose molecule. Okay, so hopefully you guys would have had enough time to copy all this stuff down. Now I am going to zoom out here because what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this here to the side, off to the side here. Okay, but I'm also going to go ahead and finally take a look at my diagram. Now, you guys have a diagram that looks like this, but because of course I am, recording a video here, I want to make sure you guys are able to see here. So this is obviously going to be our focal point here. Let me adjust that. There we go. Okay. All right. So this is what we need to be looking at. We are now going to attach some words to some pictures because that's how my brain works. Okay. So, oops, a little bit more crooked for my taste. There we go. Okay. All right. So here's our light dependent reaction. Here is our light independent reaction. And again, the light dependent reaction, we called that the first one, and the light independent, we called that the second one. So I'm going to go ahead and add those two, I guess, titles next to them. And so that way I can make sure that I'm tracking that, because light dependent, that's number 1, and light independent, that's going to be number 2. Okay. So that's the first step. The other thing that I'm going to go ahead and take a pause to do right now is the fact that I'm going to fill out my formula here. So let's copy that over from my notes. Look right here. Oh, look, so simple. So I'm going to copy this over here. So basically what we're going to have is 6 CO2. All right. And that is going to be added to 6 molecules of water, H2O. Okay. Then we're going to throw in some sunlight energy, and I have a lot of space, so I'm going to take up a lot of space, but I mean, you do you, buddy. All right, sunlight. Because remember, we can't really change anything unless we put some energy into the system. And once we are putting energy into the system and we have all the ingredients, aka reactants that we need, we're able to get some products or some cake in the form of 1 glucose, so that's C6H12O6, and 6 molecules of oxygen gas. All right. So again, I just want to point out that on the left side here to the butt of the arrow, what you guys are going to have are the reactants, aka the ingredients. You got to put these together in order to make this over here, our cake. So here is what's called our products. All right. Okay. So now we can go back up here. Now that we kind of have set ourselves up for success, let's be successful, right? So let's identify a couple of things. Now in the light dependent, let's focus on the light dependent reaction space. Okay, we'll connect the both later. So light dependent, light is absorbed by the thylakoid membrane. Well, here's the light, and guess what? Here's the thylakoid membrane. So go ahead and add that label in there. This is called the thylakoid. All right, the thylakoid membrane, we'll just call it the thylakoid. We're good. Okay, light enters in through here, and it's going to allow for, hold on a second, I want to make sure I got my notes. Okay, it's going to allow, this right here is going to allow us to break down H2O. Okay, so that H2O is going to get fed, the water is going to get fed to the thylakoid. And when the thylakoid is also processing the light energy, it's going to end up producing, oh, look, O2. O2, okay? It produces O2 gas, which is basically oxygen, okay? Oxygen gas, all right? So we are producing that, oops, sorry. So we're taking that hydrogen, or sorry, we are taking the water and we are breaking it down in order to get some O2 out of it. Then we are also going to get a couple of things here. So first we're going to get, we'll start with here in the middle, okay? First, we're going to, and if we're paying attention to these arrows, we need to start up here because look, right? This one's going to feed this one. So we need to start up here at the top. And here, we are going to end up with some ATP, okay? ATP. So do we have a charged battery or an uncharged battery? We have a charged battery, okay, guys? It's charged. Cool. All right, so we have a charged battery here, and we are also going to get out of this process that's going on over here, we're also going to receive some NADPH as well, just like in our notes, okay? They're lining up. Oh my gosh, that's crazy, miss. Oh my God. Guys, I'm so extra whenever I record stuff at home. It's weird. I don't know. All right, so as long as you guys got that, I'm going to move on. You should pause the video if you need to. Okay. I don't think it's that much, so hopefully you didn't have to. We'll see. All right. So now we can focus on the light independent reaction, okay? And the light independent reaction, as you guys can see, I'm kind of covering that side because I want you guys to focus down here now. The light independent reactions, what's going on over here? So first of all, thing I want to point out is here's your stroma, okay? Stroma is like the ooey gooey inside of here, okay? Now, we talked about CO2 entering in through the somata. So here's CO2, and guess what? On this membrane here of the plant cell, or no, sorry, this is a chloroplast. This is a chloroplast. Actually, go ahead and write this. Chloroplast cell. All right. So this entire thing, this big old bean is a chloroplast cell. I should have led with that. My bad, y'all. This whole thing is a chloroplast cell. The chloroplast is going to have a thylakoid, which is these little, I don't know, dime stacks. I don't know. It's going to have this ooey gooey jelly stuff inside called the stroma. And it's going to have these little pores called stomata. And why would you guys put all those face creams and like this and that and Hyrum and like the salicylic acid, what face wash and whatever? Why do you put that on your face? Because you have pores in your face that are going to be able to kind of like take in some of that stuff. So guess what? Plants kind of use a similar sort of process. So this CO2, oops, sorry. I don't know. I guess you might not be able to see now. This CO2, let's see if I can leave out the chloroplast. There we go. The CO2 enters the stomata, and what is it now going to do? Let's see. Oh, ATP and NADPH, ATP and NADPH are going to power the breakdown of CO2. So CO2 is getting broken down. ADP and NADP plus are going to be left over. So let's go ahead and add those two to the equation. So ADP, all right, in the same way, yeah, I'm just keeping them lined up, I guess. ADP, so now we have a decharged battery. Now we have lost the battery, okay? And that, and the NADP plus, again, another uncharged battery. And what we are also, so that's what's happening to energy here, but we can't forget about our little guy over here, because the whole point of this cycle is so that we can produce this stuff called sugar. Everybody loves sugar, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put these notes to the side so that you guys can get a good look at the completed picture here. If you need to, pause the video and make your, copy down your notes, okay? All right, so I do want to wrap up a couple of things here just to make some stuff clear. As I said, I kind of mentioned it a little bit late. That was my mistake. Sorry, y'all. But this whole cell here, actually, it's a chloroplast organelle. It's a chloroplast organelle. We're just gonna call it the chloroplast, okay? I'm not gonna fight y'all, all right? I messed up, all right? I told you guys whenever I mess up, I'm not gonna blame you. It's on me, okay? All right, anyways. This is a chloroplast. A chloroplast has the thylakoid. It's going to have some stroma, and it has stomata, which allows certain things to come in and allow for certain things to not leave, right? Like we wouldn't want this water to leave because that water is kind of part of the whole process. We can't do our process unless we keep our water. So anyways, now the light dependent, right, requires light. So this is going to kind of happen like during the day, for example, but overnight, we don't have a source of energy. We don't have a source of sunlight. We have the moon, right? And that is not going to provide us with the type of energy that we need to make our glucose. So what's going to happen is during night, it's going to highly favor the light independent reactions. And as we saw, it is not a very productful. It doesn't produce a whole lot, right? It takes 6 whole turns of the cycle in order to do it. So where you're getting most of your energy is going to be from the light dependent reaction. Over here, I want you to think of this as your cell phone is plugged into the wall. It is constantly receiving energy. You don't have to worry about that battery running out because, like I said, there is constant energy being provided there. But if you pull your phone off of the charger and you go to school for the day, right? Guess what's going to happen to that battery? Surprise, the battery goes down because you are now running on battery power. And that's basically what's happening here. So the plant is always going to have to go back to the light cycle. If the plant is unable to return to the light cycle, guess what? It's going to die. Okay? So, open my screen. That's all I got for you guys today. Okay. Make sure that you, I don't know, I'm sure future me will tell you exactly where to put this diagram. We'll tell you exactly what page to put the notes on, all that good stuff. Okay. But both current me, which I guess will be past me, and I'm sure future me, because she's still me, right? We love you. Okay. Have a great day. Take care. Be safe. Bye.